In the video 20,000, we looked at the fact that Yehovah will give us tests that we find scary to see whether or not we will trust in Him or not. In this video, I want to look at a time that Israel were scared and they were tested as to whether or not they would trust in Yehovah and what He had said, or whether they would trust their eyes. In Numbers 14, it says, "Then all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe and against Aaron. And all the congregation said to them, If only we had died in the land of Mitzrayim, or if only we had died in this wilderness. Why is Yehovah bringing us to this land, to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become a prey? Would it not be better for us to turn back to Mitzrayim?" And they said to each other, "Let us appoint a leader and let us turn back to Mitzrayim." So they looked at what was in front of them and they said, why is Yehovah doing this to bring about these negative consequences on us? And we may well be in the same situation, using the same examples as last time. We might think, well, why has Yehovah redeemed me only for me to become destitute and my children not have any food because I'm not working on the Sabbath day? Their response is, let us appoint a leader and let us turn back to Mitzrayim. And of course, Paul tells us of something very similar. He says there shall be a time when they shall not bear sound teaching, but according to their own desires they shall heap up for themselves teachers tickling the ear, and they shall indeed turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to myths. So the first thing that I want you to do as we're going through this, and this is a great opportunity to examine yourself and see where you're at. Do you tend to listen to teachers that teach you that the things that you're not doing or that you're doing that you shouldn't, really God gives you grace for those things, or otherwise makes it okay to not do it? Do you prefer to believe teachers that say, oh no, you're not to give a tithe, that was for the Levites? Or do you prefer to listen to teachers that will tell you difficult things? The word, of course, tells us that people will choose teachers who tickle the ear, teachers who teach smooth things, as it says of the prophets, that they used to prophesy smooth things to the people. Yehovah says, my people love to have it so. So think about your motivations in listening to different people, and whether or not you feel soothed or you feel a sense of peace about things that the word says you should be doing that you're not doing. Things like wearing tzitzit. If you don't wear tzitzit, ask yourself, do I prefer to listen to somebody who tells me that really those things are just minor things? We need to care more about things like love and compassion, and as long as we're doing that and we're okay, we don't need to obey the rest of the word. Of course, love and compassion are more important than wearing tzitzit, but as Yeshua said, you should do these things. You should do the weightier matters of the law, not neglecting the less weighty matters. In Numbers 14 it continues and says, "And Yehoshua son of Nun and Caleb son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their garments. And they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, The land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If Jehovah has delighted in us, then he shall bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which is flowing with milk and honey." And this should of course be your reaction when you read of things that you find scary, that would be required of you, but you find, it's scary for me to do this thing. You should say, "No, if Yehovah is with me, who can be against me?" It shows, of course, your faith in Yehovah, and these things are tests of one's faith. If we can do the word when it's something which we find pleasing, but we refuse to do it when it's something that we find scary, then that's not faith in the word. That's just doing as we please. Maybe we find it pleasing to worship God. Maybe we think that's a good thing to do, so we don't mind, doing these feasts or wearing tzitzit or tithing. All of that comes easy to us, or keeping the Sabbath day. Who doesn't enjoy a day off? It's when those things are scary that they are tests of our faith. So our reaction should be the same as their reaction. If Yehovah is with us, and if you've been acting in a way that is pleasing to him, then you can be assured that he is with you. He will only forsake you if you forsake him. We should say these things are good. They said it's an exceedingly good land. We read in Romans 7 that the Torah is good and the Torah is spiritual. Our spirit agrees with that. The problem comes when the flesh doesn't want to do what the spirit recognizes is good. In Numbers 32 we see Moshe relaying to the second generation what happened with the first generation. And he says, "Then the displeasure of Yehovah burned on that day, and he swore an oath, saying, Not one of the men who came up from Egypt from 20 years old and above is to see the land of which I swore to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, because they did not follow me fully, except Caleb son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, and Yehoshua son of Nun, for they have followed Yehovah fully." And it's this word that I want to look at, the word fully, so that we know how we are to walk before Elohim, because you might think of yourself as one of his people or in his kingdom, but we know that the kingdom of God is like a dragnet, and the good and the bad are caught up in it. So you need to know that you're one of the ones who will go to the land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We don't want the displeasure of Yehovah to burn against us, as it did the other 10 spies who were sent into the land. We want to be like Joshua and Caleb. So here we have the word that's translated as completely or wholly or fully. It's the word malah, and in this case it's used in the PL form, which means to fill, to satisfy, to fully accomplish, to complete, or to confirm. This is what Gesenius says about it. To fill, to make full, to fill up. He says of time, to fulfill can mean to bring to an end, if you're talking about the time being fulfilled, but its regular usage doesn't mean that. And we see here to follow the Lord fully, i.e. to show full obedience to him. And we can see Numbers 14 is an example of when it's used in that sense. So we are to follow Yehovah fully. We're not to have areas that we are disobedient in. If we want to be the ones who inherit the land, we certainly don't want to have a crisis of faith like the other 10 spies did. And when we think of the word fulfill, possibly brings to mind this scripture, do not think that I came to destroy the Torah of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And people think that it's in this sense of the word, to bring to an end. But of course, that is not the meaning of the word. It's not. Yeshua didn't bring the law to an end. He did this. He showed full obedience to the Torah. We can see in the Hebrew Matthew, at that time, Yeshua said to his disciples, do not think that I came to annul the Torah, but to fulfill it. And in the Hebrew, we see here, it's to fulfill it. So you've got the lamed, which the prefix of the lamed means to or for, and then we've got the root there, which is shin lamed mem, shalom. So we know what shalom means. It's a state of completeness or wholeness. If you are not familiar with the term, we have a video called Shalom, which I would recommend watching. The verb root is actually shalom, sorry. So here, the verb root of this word is shalom, which is to bring to a state of completeness or wholeness or a state of peace, we might say in English. So that's what Yeshua was doing with the Torah. He wasn't bringing it to an end. He was bringing it to its fullness, to its completeness. He was completely doing the Torah. So don't be misled when people say that Yeshua has fulfilled the Torah. Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to bring to an end? No, I don't think so. I didn't come to destroy it, but to bring it to fullness. Back to Numbers 14. But the congregation said to stone them with stones. Then the esteem of Yehovah appeared in the tent of appointment before all the children of Israel. And Yehovah said to Moshe, how long shall I be scorned by these people? And how long shall I not be trusted by them with all the signs which I have done in their midst? So we don't want Yehovah to feel like that towards us. We don't want to scorn Yehovah, or for Yehovah to interpret our actions as scorn. We can profess to love Yehovah with our mouths, but by our actions we can scorn him. He says, how long shall I not be trusted by these people? So in those things that you find scary, remember that your trust is to be in Yehovah. You are to remember all of the things that he has done for you in your life. Notice here it says, all the congregation said to stone them with stones. It's not just that people might find that our actions kind of a bit off the wall. Charlie often talks about how his mum says that he's a bit over the top in his obedience. People will interpret our behaviour, like if you say to your spouse, I'm not going to work on the Sabbath day, and they're not a believer, then they might think that that is crazy, and they won't understand. But here we see it's all the congregation as well, and you should expect, if you attend a fellowship, that people will have that reaction. People who are calling themselves Jehovah's people, calling themselves, whether or not he says that they are, is another matter. You should expect that the congregation of his people will react in this way, and they will possibly see you as a threat if you're talking about doing things that they find scary. It puts me in mind of Isaiah 66. Hear the word of Yahweh, you who tremble at his word. Your brothers, notice, who hate you, who cast you out for my name's sake, said, let Yahweh be esteemed, so that we see your joy. But they are put to shame. So with their mouths they say, let Yahweh be esteemed, but they don't tremble at his word. And we don't want to be those who are gathered in the dragnet and cast out, as these people may well be. We want to be those who actually esteem Yahovah, and don't just say it with our mouths, and show that trust and that faith and that belief in him by doing the things that he has asked us to do. Yahovah willing, I'll see you next week.